Hey, this is Evan Marquez, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women, your personal trainer for love. This is the Love You podcast. Today is a brand new year, 2025, and we're talking about, are you on the fence about your attraction to your guy? Um, and this is something I've actually wanted to do this podcast for a long time, so make sure you stick around. Before we get into that, I just want to express my gratitude. I had a really nice holiday season with my family, kind of hunkering down at home, nothing terribly exotic, just taking a little time to myself, putting some finishing touches on some things that we're doing here in Love You to give you the opportunity to join the Love You community. And yeah, again, it's you're here for the advice. You're not here to listen to the part about my actual job. But if you enjoy this podcast, you really want to be part of the Love You community. It's a place where women like you, like-minded women who struggle with the same issues, are having success, getting support, getting coaching, making friendships, making better decisions with men, raising their standards. Um, and this is a lonely journey. It's stuff, if you're listening to me in your earbuds right now, this is your time that you're just absorbing this information. And then there's absorbing information, and then there's actually doing something about it. So it's the new year. If you really want to be in action, I highly recommend that you stick with me, you get on my mailing list, and you look into what it'll mean to be part of the Love You community in the future, which is going to be much more accessible and provide really incredible value to you when you consider how important it is to find a partner in life. Um, Women talk about lack of attraction. Men talk about lack of attraction too, but maybe it's my bias because I listen to women for a living, but women talk about how hard it is to find an attractive man, how few attractive men there are. I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to, like, again, there's no value in telling you that your experience isn't real, your feelings aren't real. I went to my 30th college reunion last year and I looked like Brad Pitt, which I clearly do not. Because as guys age, they are more likely to get white hair and pot bellies and balding and the ravages of time that come along with it. And women spend more time and energy on appearance than men do. It's more acceptable for men to go that route. And so there is definitely a chasm where it's harder and harder to find attractive guys. Um, I'm still going to stick with the rule that despite the fact that a lot of men age poorly, I still believe that 10% of men are good husband material. And that means the combination of everything. He's good looking enough, attractive enough, intelligent enough, stable, financially stable enough. There's 10% of men who make for really good partners for you. Your job is to make sure you don't waste your time on the 90% and find the 10%. So matchmakers, other dating gurus often talk about giving guys a chance. I've heard various matchmakers saying, I insist that my clients go out with a guy at least 2 or 3 times, things like that. The problem is that language doesn't sound good. It's not inspiring. And not only that, I also don't think it's effective. I think we need sort of better language to describe chemistry in such a way that the thing that you think you're hearing um, feels more palatable. Because I could assure you, I shouldn't assure you about what anybody else is saying, what any of these matchmakers are saying, but I could assure you this. As a dating coach, the OG dating coach since 2003, I would not be successful at my job if my message to you was to settle, to be in a relationship with someone you're not attracted to spend your whole life second guessing yourself, and to have bad sex. That is not a winning message. It's not a winning marriage. And that is never something that's ever come out of my mouth. So when we're talking about attraction, we're talking about a really sort of nuanced position that is most definitely not settling. But I know when I even bring this topic up, the first thing women hear is, dude's telling me to settle. He's telling me he's not telling me to settle, but dude's telling me to settle. So forcing yourself into something that you don't want is, I assure you, not my objective. The happily married graduates, that if you go to evanmarckatz.com and click on the love stories tab at the top of the page, you will also see all these couples in their wedding gowns and their big smiles. I could assure you none of them feel that they settled either. So here's what they did do. And this is what as I said, this is designed to be prescriptive. You could take this, you could leave it, but it's a nuanced way of looking at attraction that I think will ultimately serve you well, open up your dating pool, and is more likely to get you the love that you deserve. So number one, we want to distinguish. I used to do fancy graphics for this. I don't do fancy graphics on the podcast anymore. But number one, you want to distinguish between negative and neutral. Distinguish between negative and neutral. And what that means is it's okay to feel neutral about a guy based on his looks, right? That's all you have. If you're on a dating app, you have a face to work with. Not every guy is going to be an immediate turn on. What we're saying is if someone who's an immediate turn off, you should have zero compunction about swiping left on a guy who's an immediate turn off. You're not obliged to overrule your own wishes and your own desires when you are actively turned off. It does not serve you well. It does not serve men well. All right. Hard part. Most women find over 80% of men completely unattractive. Right? Not 50% of men, 80% of men. My guess is you find closer to 95% of men unattractive. That's more of a you problem than than a guy problem. But whatever it is, we have to understand that I'm not making you swipe right on someone that you find physically unappealing. I'm asking you to stay open to guys who you feel neutral about at first glance. Why? Well, of course, you've met people in real life who you wouldn't have necessarily picked out of a lineup, who turned out to be attractive, great in bed, good boyfriends, right? Almost everybody has a version of that story. If you don't, I can't make you have that story, but it's a very, very common story. So we want to be open to possibility. Um, a lot of people think they should be looking for excitement on the first date. Excitement is a bonus, but it's not a prerequisite. Excitement is kind of fool's gold. Think about every guy you've ever been excited about on a first date, right? Butterflies. You're single listening to this podcast. So every guy you've ever been excited about turned out to be a bust. So I'm not saying excitement is bad. It's not bad. Excitement is a wonderful feeling. I hope you have excitement, but excitement is not a prerequisite. I can tell you definitively, I was not excited about my wife when I approached her at a party in Hollywood. I did not go on our first date. Oh my God, I think she's my soulmate. I'm so nervous. I hope she's the one. Every word she utters is magic. I did not have those sort of feelings. And I could assure you, I have as healthy a marriage as you could possibly imagine, despite the fact that my first couple weeks and months were not that giddy, oh my God, you just know feeling. So you don't need to have excitement to get to a first date or get past a first date. We're just trying to screen in at the very, very beginning. How do we screen in? You've heard me say it before. It's an important part of this course. Most people are looking for checklists. Women go into dates. We've talked about it. I talked about it recently with Carol. What's wrong with this guy? I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to waste time. Like, so you kind of go in with that sort of laser focus to dissect him instead of sort of zooming out and paying attention to how you feel. I am more focused on your feelings, not on dissecting everything that you think might be a potential long-term flaw. So the feelings we're looking to pay attention to on that first date are comfort, fun, and attraction. Comfort. Could I be myself with him? Fun. Did I have a nice time with this guy? Would I want to do this again this evening? Attraction, thing we're talking about here. The attraction that is sufficient, we talk about it as a 6 and above. It's a made up number. Your 6 might be different than someone else's 6. Maybe you're a tough grader. Maybe you're an easy grader. It doesn't matter. These are made up concepts, right? But we're talking about slightly higher than neutral. I say, if this guy at the end of a really good night leaned in to kiss me, would I kiss him back? To me, that's attraction, right? Like it's enough attraction to consider it. So, and I'm being very, very specific here. If you go out with a guy where your numbers are, say, 5'5", like comfort fun attraction, or like 5'5" or something, um, I'm not telling you to go out with that guy. If it's beneath a 6 on any one of them, if it's not positive, it doesn't feel good. And you know you have a track record. Most women do because they don't trust their own judgment. Have a track record of talking themselves into going out with guys that they don't want to go out with, and then discovering when they actually go out with him, see, I was right. It was a terrible date. I didn't want to be here. We don't want you to do that. We want you to screen people online. We want you to do FaceTime calls that function as your first date, and we want you to make the best first date you could possibly have, and then evaluate him on after the first date on these criteria. So think of another guy where the attraction is not a 5, where it's a no, but it's a 6. And at the end of the date, the kiss is a mediocre kiss. But you had fun, you were completely comfortable. Okay. To me, that's something to work with. To me, that's a possibility, right? Because it's not a turn off, right? We don't want to be turned off, but we could work with neutral, and that can get better over time. And I cannot tell you, I mean, I'm not going to exaggerate. I cannot tell you the number of women who come to me with an attraction of a 6.5 who said it was a 9 or a 10. Right? They started here, they ended up here, all because they explored it. And I liken it to trying a food that might not look good, and then you eat it and you're like, huh, I really, really like it. Like sometimes you acquire a taste for something. You should not have to take a long time to acquire a taste for yourself. You shouldn't force feed yourself something that is distasteful. So that's why I make a really big distinction between neutral from the outset and negative from the outset. Negative is a hard no. There's no duty dating. There's no obligatory date. There's no obligatory first date. There's no obligatory second date. You're the CEO. You have the right to say no at any point in time. I think the problem is people expect to have straight 10s, right? Comfort, fun, attraction, all 10s on the first date. And that, I wouldn't say it doesn't exist. It's certainly very rare. And that would also probably give me cause for alarm. It probably means you're not seeing something very clearly, right? You're probably overwhelmed by attraction, and you don't really know who someone is if you're straight 10s across the board. But still, it's a great date. If you could have a straight 10s date, God bless you. Enjoy. Um, my point is that there's not a wrong answer, right? If anything, women who don't trust their judgment in dating relationships turn to folks like me to help you make better decisions, because whatever you're doing hasn't been working for you. And it's normal. It's why people like me and thousands of other dating coaches exist. So there's not a wrong answer. And I think everybody's so intent on getting this right. Like, this is serious. I'm not looking to screw around. I'm ready to couple up. I'm not on a desperate husband hunt, but I really want to be in a long-term relationship, and I want to get this thing right. And so my guess is, if you go out on a second date, and really this is on the fence, if you go out on a second date with a guy who's a 6 in attraction and that attraction doesn't grow, you don't have to go out with him again. And chances are you're not throwing away your future husband. You have nothing to feel sad or guilty about, right? And if you go out with the 6 another time, right, and you have an extra drink and you make out in the car and you discover that the 6 just ticks up to a 7, that would be also a very predictable outcome that I've seen a million times before. So you don't have to agonize so much about getting this thing right. Our job is to minimize wasting time on the wrong guys. So learning to say no when you have the negative feelings, right? Say maybe on the neutral feelings, and then continue to listen to your feelings, because those things will guide you throughout your relationship, right? A 3 is nothing. 3 doesn't turn into anything. So any guru, friend, parent who said, "Hey, you should give that guy a chance." No, you should not give that guy a chance. Right? He deserves someone who's attracted to him. He deserves someone who finds him interesting. Right? So we're not talking ourselves into anything. We're listening to comfort, fun, and attraction. And as long as you have positive scores in comfort, fun, and attraction, just put one foot in front of the other. Go on a second date, go on a third date. If it doesn't start to escalate your feelings and his effort, You're the CEO. Interns are disposable. There's always another guy. Um, just make sure that you're not talking yourself into dating anybody a first time or a second time, because that is the thing that makes dating soul sucking. That's the thing that people start to resent the most is when they go out with guys that they don't want to go out with under the some sort of obligatory idea that they should. I'm giving you permission. I'm almost, nay, I'm demanding that you don't go out with any guy that you don't go out, want to go out with, because there's a statistically high chance that your original instinct on that is going to be right. So, my name is Evan Marcatz. This is the Love You Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on Apple. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify. Leave us a positive review if you haven't done so. Tell a friend if you think she needs this level of annoying detail on dating and relationships, because I think the more you think about this, the clearer it becomes, and the more you're going to be able to navigate this thing. And that's really all I want for you, is to be able to navigate relationships from coming from a place of confidence, so that you know that you're lovable, and you could hold out for a guy where the relationship is indeed easy and you feel fully taken care of. If that seems like a bit of a pipe dream, and yes, you say that, Evan, but I have women in my Love You community who are getting it every single week. Like every single week, someone is finding a new boyfriend, taking her profile down, saying, I love you for the first time. If that feels good to you, go to evanmarkatz.com, take my quiz, discover whether you've been wasting time on the wrong men. And as you go through our email sequence, as you familiarize yourself with me and my work, hopefully you see fit to trust me with your love life, to hold your hand and guide you, not just in podcast form, but with other smart, strong, successful women who are committed to leading their best life and finding someone who loves them unconditionally. If you want to circumvent that process and not want to take a quiz and receive a bunch of emails, you can talk directly to me about coaching. Go to evanmarkatz.com/now and book a half-hour consultation. We'll talk about whether coaching is a good fit for you. Happy New Year, my friends. I look forward to talking to you soon.